seat taken?
Nobody's in the seat, then I ain't taking, friend.
So this is, Sabacc?
Sabacc.
Welcome back to Sabacc the Block, the official First Cut Star Wars show. We're back to having weekly guests, and this week we have another special guest. We have Mr. Triad of the Force in the house. Gustavo is here. Gus, how are you feeling today, man?
How's it going, man? I'm ecstatic. Like I'm riding a high. Like I feel like 2023 actually started like with Star Wars Celebration, and I'm feeling good. I just started a new job. We got back from London a couple days ago, so I'm riding high. Mando just finished today, so it's good, man. It's a really good time to not just be a Star Wars fan, but for life in general. I feel optimistic after having a couple of months of being like down, I'm gonna be honest, down in the dumps for a while there, but everything's on the up and up. So thank you for having me, because I'm really excited to talk about everything that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, man, for sure. And I'm happy to have you on. And obviously, all those good vibes leading into the summer, that's the way to do it. Right before, before the heat hits, feeling good vibes is always the good way to go.
We had like a little third winter here in Chicago on Monday. So now finally spring is back again. Weather's improving, so feeling good. We can have light jackets, so I feel like the weather is cooperating with the mood finally up here in the Midwest.
That's good to hear, man. But obviously, we start the show off every week with the very big question that everyone gets asked, and it's a story that everyone has. Gustavo, what is your Star Wars story?
Unfortunately, my Star Wars story is the boring story that everyone has. I feel like the return to Star Wars is a better story, and I'll get to that. But it's my father's fault. Like I feel like most people can blame their father or their parent for their love of Star Wars. I'm in my 30s. I was born like in '88, so I was prime age for when the special editions came out, which was I think '94, '96, something like that. So I remember. And maybe this is a false memory, honestly, but I'm sticking to it. I remember like around that time, my dad was just like, "Oh, you're old enough to like go see this movie, and this is a movie that like I really enjoy when I saw it in the movie theater way back when. So I'm gonna take you and see if you like it." Because my dad and I would always go to the movies on Sundays. That was our tradition. And then we saw Star Wars, and everything was different. Like the world was a completely different world. I remember that after that, we went to Blockbuster Video to buy the VHS set, like the black one that had like Yoda on Return of the Jedi, the Stormtrooper on Empire, and then I forgot Vader like on A New Hope. I got that, and I just go through like watch them like on a loop, and then when the special editions came out, bought the VHSs again so I can get like all that sweet new content that I know got controversial and with time, but for me it was great. It's like, oh my god, new scenes and everything. So perfect timing, because then a couple of years later, what happens? Boom, episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and what was it, like maybe 9 or 11, but in that range. It was a perfect age to watch that movie. So started with the OT and then grew up with the prequel trilogy and all those video games. It was wonderful. Got to read like the Thrawn trilogy once those movies were over. So it's like, I need more Star Wars content. So started with the books, Thrawn trilogy, Jedi Academy trilogy, and all that stuff. So had a really good run growing up with like Star Wars content, which was incredible. Lovely time. But then, there was like the dark ages, so to speak, that happened once you become a certain age within your teenhood, because back in the early 2000s it wasn't cool to be a nerd. It's not like now where it's like nerddom has taken over thanks to Marvel. It's like it's cool to be a nerd, but back then, if you like Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, and Star Wars, you know it's like not you're you're not the most valuable member of society to an extent. So in a way, I feel like my fandom kind of lulled a little bit as I like went to college and all those things. I kind of like hit the pause button on Star Wars. Not to say that I didn't like it or didn't keep up with it. It was more like passive at the time. But then 2015, with the Lucasfilm acquisition by Disney, it was reinvigorated. I remember talking with my best friends, Nani included, my co-host on Triad. We were like, oh my God, they're doing episode 7 finally after so much waiting for it. It's going to happen. And that kind of lit the flame again of Star Wars in my life. So that's kind of like how, I started with Star Wars, kind of faded away a little bit. And then I kind of got back with this. Like, honestly, Disney's, like people are taking, people take shots at Disney for their acquisition of Star Wars and whatever they've been doing with it. But for me, it was kind of like the best thing that happened because it reignited it. It's like it made Star Wars relevant, and then it's giving us all this amazing content that we've been getting in a nonstop basis, which we've never really had in any way. Even with the prequels, we never got like as much content as we're getting now. So very, very happy with like being back in the fandom at full force as we are now, especially having the podcast and doing all the things that we've been doing that we're very proud and humbled by. But yeah, I think that's the nutshell of that story. Hopefully it wasn't too rambly, but that's it.
Oh, that's perfect.
A little bit, even though it's a 3 dots at the, or 4 dots, because that's how they do it in the crawl. It's 4 dots at the end because the story is ongoing.
Yeah, keeps going, man. It never ends. I feel like that's essentially what it boils down to, is your age, right? Depending how old you were when a certain movie or a certain show came out. A lot of people, it was Clone Wars when they were little kids. For me, like you said, it was the re-release of the OG trilogy, which I saw on VHS as well. I also had that VHS 3-set collection. So it's all about your age and how you experience those movies. And that's how I saw the prequels and grew up with the prequels as well. And I was still just not young enough to enjoy the Clone Wars when it came out. Like I was a teenager and I wasn't supposed to, but I still did. I thought it was really good. But for me, it's a lot along the same lines, and I feel like that's what's beautiful about everyone's Star Wars journey, is it all depends on what your just vibe was at that time and how old you were. So that's really cool. I want to get to your experience at a Star Wars Celebration in London, man. Obviously, there's so much to get to with that, but I briefly want to talk about
a lot.
Your experience first. How was it? Just how was it being there?
Man, Star Wars Celebration. This is my 4th celebration, and it's been incredible every single time because of different reasons, because each one has been special in its own unique way. The first celebration I went to, it was actually with my Triad co-hosts before we were even before we were even the Triad, and it was our first convention as well. So we thought we were too cool for school. It was the Orlando one, which was a disaster of a convention as far as I'm concerned, and as far as I've heard from other people. But we thought we were too cool for school. Like, we're not going to do the overnight thing. We're just going to roll in as Puerto Ricans and just get in however we get in, and just be above the nerds, so to speak, even though we are the nerds as well. And that did not work out well for us. We did not get into almost any panel. It was a complete disaster, but we had so much fun. But fast forward to London, Star Wars Celebration Europe 2023 in London, it was a completely different beast. And I always like to compare it with Orlando just because of how far, I mean, I don't want to say how far we've come, because we could still enjoy it without having a podcast, right? But like how different that experience was. And this one was really, really, really something special, not just because of the panels that I got to host and be a part of, which we'll get to that in a minute, but because of the people, man. Like that, I feel that has been like the most important lesson that I've learned from all of my experiences in celebration that kind of have culminated with London. It's just that in a way it's less and less each time about going into the panels. Like, yeah, the panels are great. You get to see all these trailers, you get to see all these creators, you get to get all this content, but at the end of the day, like, it's cliche, but it's about the friends you make along the way, because honestly, like the best times that I had at the convention were like after we leave the convention and go to the Novotel hotel bar to like just hang out with all the other great content creators and fans and just have a drink or two or lose track, and then enjoy that time and talk about things that you're passionate about with people that are passionate about the exact same thing. So London was amazing because it was kind of an extension of Anaheim to that extent, because Anaheim was the first celebration that I went to as a content creator, and I got to meet a lot of other content creators, but I was still shy. It was like we were the new, we were kind of new to the game, so we didn't really feel comfortable being like, hey, I'm from this podcast or whatever. But kind of this one, you're a little more comfortable. It's like, oh, we've done it before, and we know a lot of the other people, so you kind of have your base of operations, so to speak, and your springboard. So it was a lot of fun. We got to get into almost every panel that we wanted to, and meet a lot of people, see all those trailers, and then share experiences with all these great friends that are now friends for life, which is the other surreal thing of celebrations. Like you see all these great creators on Twitter or Instagram or YouTube, and they're always through a screen, right? You see them as pixels, and all of a sudden they're there in person, and you can hug them and see them in person, which is so special, to like be able to share physical space with someone, especially after the isolation we went through with COVID. It's really, really, really beautiful to be able to do that, and then to be able to do it in London, like one of the greatest cities in the world. I mean, come on, it was an amazing experience, and one that I don't take for granted, and one that I will forever be grateful for.
That was your first time, right, in London?
Yes. So what exactly? It's one of the other cool thing about Star Wars. If it weren't for Star Wars, hopefully I would have gone to London. But because of Star Wars, I went to London. Like more immediately than I probably would have on my own. So hopefully, here's to hoping for Japan now, 2025.
You don't got to tell me twice, man. I mean, you should see how hype I was for London. I was like, I'm gonna find the money. I'm gonna do it. I've always wanted to go to London. Like, I really do have a soft spot in my heart for the UK in general. I've always wanted to do like a UK trip. And my homie who lives out here in LA, went to London, and he told me all the experiences. He went to Scotland, Ireland, all this stuff. And I'm just like, I gotta do that. Here's my shot. And at the same time, I can do Star Wars Celebration. Like, it'd be sick. Obviously, I couldn't get the chance to do it, but that's definitely an amazing opportunity that anyone, if they have the chance, they have to take up on. So real quick, man, 100%. Let's get to your panels. You had 2 panels, and you hosted.
Well, I had one, and then like you were graceful enough to trust me to be able to like.
Thank you for doing that.
Reins on that. No, thank you for thinking of me, because it was truly special. So thank you.
It's a pressure, and I said that in the message when I sent it to you, because I was like, I know this is it's like it's low key a burden. Like, you do have to take it seriously, and you do have to place it upon yourself. And it's always at the back of your head where you're like, I'm enjoying this, but I still have this panel I have to prep for, So I was like, I know it's a lot, but at the same time, I was like, I think you can do it, and I think you guys could kill it.
We did it. So. Yeah, we did it. We did it, and it was great.
Awesome.
And it was amazing. I mean, honestly, to one, like I was saying before, like to be able to just be at Celebration, it's a gift, right? I mean, it's a gift you give yourself, I guess, because you're paying for it. But it's an experience that's just amazing to have. And then on top of that, to be able to just be on a stage that all of a sudden there's a drape on the table that says Star Wars Celebration, and then behind you there's like the Star Wars Celebration logo. It's like you're kind of in an official capacity. I mean, I don't like to say it that way, but you're in an official capacity, like part of the convention. It's surreal. It's surreal. It's something that sometimes I see the pictures and I'm just like, did that really happen? Was I like actually like in an official Star Wars event as as an official speaker for it? So it's something that I still can't wrap my mind about around, because it's truly a really special opportunity. And then to be able to talk about things that we are passionate about was even better, because I think I was really blessed to like do both panels because they're both talking about things that you and I are both passionate about, which is obviously Latinx or Latina representation. Because, and this is not a slight, right, against like other podcasters or creators. I mean, it's great to always talk about Star Wars in a fun and jovial way about like, oh, who's your favorite character or this and that. That's great to have that conversation, but to be able to add a layer on top of that and be able to like bring it kind of real world and be like, okay, but what does that mean like for me as a fan from my cultural background, and what does that tell me that I can give to other people about like how to look at this media through a different lens than you might have not been able to look at it before. It's truly really special. So to be able to kind of have like the Latina, Hispanic, Latinx community kind of be represented double and the convention was amazing. And I hope that it's definitely, it wasn't the first time because we did it last year, and hopefully it's not the last time because there's still a lot more to talk about, because that conversation on representation will never be over. There's no finish line on it. There's only improvement. So hopefully we get to do it again and have some fun, and hopefully the next time we'll be there together in Japan.
I hope so, man. And I really do feel like it's endless. Like you said, it doesn't stop, where I almost feel like it could be like a co-partnership with Lucasfilm, where there is this kind of unified understanding, just like there's been many times in the past with other communities. But the Latino community with Star Wars, there is a bond that is being formed. And I feel like people should just embrace it. Like we should just fully just be like, yeah, sponsored by Lucasfilm and Star Wars, Latino representation or whatever we want to call it.
I'm not going to say no to that. I will always say yes. I will always say yes to that. No, but it's really something really special, because not just for like our representation in terms of like our community, but also I have to give massive shout out to Lucasfilm on this one, because, and we have discussed this in my podcast, I'm sure you have discussed it on yours as well, and others have discussed it ad nauseum as well, which is the fact that like Lucasfilm and Star Wars historically haven't really been doing too good in terms of representation for any marginalized group, as particularly like LGBTQ plus community, and obviously our community, and to like have them kind of be able to take these steps to be like acknowledge that they haven't done well, and it's time to rectify it by like having last year with Pink Milk and this year with Chase with his with their drag panel, and obviously our Triad panel, and then our Latinx representation panel is kind of really important and special to not just be able to have that platform, but to have Lucasfilm acknowledge that it's important to be having those conversations. So we hope that, not only are we having those conversations for other fans, but that Lucasfilm is listening to like what we're saying, because hopefully it's not just lip service, right? We're on a stage saying what we need to say. Hopefully that they listen and be like, oh, that's what you're saying. Let's make sure that it's all listened to and incorporated in the media that we're producing, which is one of the things that we'll maybe get to when we discuss Mando, because there's some things there that are a little, we'll talk about it, but I mean, a little sketchy in my book.
Well, why wait? Let's do it. Let's get right to the green Psylop.
If you'd only had this little green Psylop,
which is all about the Mandalorian season 3 finale. We just watched it, like you said, Gustavo. We saw it, just came out. So I want to get down to it. This is the highly anticipated season 3 finale. I even saw ads for this during a basketball game. I was like, damn, season finale ads during a basketball game for a streaming service. I mean, obviously Disney, but at the same time, it's still pretty significant, the fact that we saw those ads hyping this up. What did you think?
It's complicated. It's complicated, unfortunately. I would like to go back to the days of season 1, when I'm just like, this is a home run. This is like the whole season is just perfection. That finale was incredible. But I feel like I can't. I mean, I have to be honest with myself. But I feel like I can't say that with season 3. Although I will do a caveat and preface it by saying that I actually have enjoyed season 3 a lot. I think that season 3 for me has corrected some of the issues that I have with season 2, because I felt season 2 was too concerned with the episodic nature of it, and not just that, but also the cameo of the week type of thing. So I felt like season 2 was a little disjointed in that sense. Where, I mean, now in hindsight we kind of see what it was doing, right? But at the moment, it didn't feel like it was servicing itself as a season, right? It was kind of servicing the backdoor pilot for Ahsoka, or like the threads that we're gonna do for season 3 and stuff like that, which are all, I think it's fine to do all those things, but it can never lose sight of being a cohesive narrative within the structure of the season. And I felt that season 2 didn't do that, at least to me. And I felt that season 3 was doing the opposite, which is like, okay, now we're kind of having like a more coherent or linear structure to the season, which I really appreciate. It's like, okay, well, I see what's happening. I know some people had like issues with the quality of the writing, and that's fair. But in terms of like season structure, I was on board. I'm like, okay, I there's a directionality that I can sympathize with. However, today's episode for the season finale, it didn't do it for me as much as I wanted it to, because I loved the previous episode, The Spies, and not just because I saw that celebration earlier, but because it was so damn good. Like that was a top 5 Mandalorian episode. So like with that hype, I was like really looking forward to what was going to happen with today's episode, and it just didn't do it. And that's not to say that it's a bad episode. I think that the season finale was very good. It was action packed. It had really good emotional beats, especially when it comes to like Din and Din Grogu, right? I think those things were done kind of well, but I think where the season the finale kind of fell flat for me was in tying up all the loose ends and narratives. I feel, and maybe this was intentional, maybe it wasn't, but I feel season 3 and 2 gave us a lot of red herrings. It's like we think we're looking, like, for example, other episodes called The Spies, and everyone's wondering, well, who's the other spy? Because it's Elia Kane is the one, so who's the other? Is it the armor? It's like, what's the cult? Like, what does the cult mean for the identity of Mandalorian? What does it mean for Din and his identity? So like we had like all of these different threads. And the Darksaber, what does it? Why can't Din carry it? It's the meaning, and all of a sudden, like this episode is like, all those things, forget about it. Like, we're good. Man, the armor, she's cool. The cult, we can all get along. We can shake hands. The Darksaber, forget about it. So there were like lots of things that, even though I can see what they're going for, it just felt a little, and this might be a little controversial to say it this way, but it felt a little Rise of Skywalker-y to me, where it's just like, okay, let's have like our cake and eat it too type of thing. Like, we planted all these seeds, but let's not really dig into it too much. Let's keep it surface so that everyone's happy. We close this, and now we're gonna do a soft reboot for season 4. And I was saying before, when I was recording with Nani, that it kind of felt like the ending was a rewrite or a reshoot, because it kind of gave, and I did a Twitter post about this just as a joke, where I took the Rangers of the New Republic logo and just crossed out Rangers and put independent contractors of the New Republic, because it was kind of an odd ending in that sense. It kind of felt like they were retooling what season 4 is going to be to kind of accommodate what Rangers of the New Republic was going to be. So yeah, like, I don't know. I had lots of issues with the season. I mean, with the finale, in terms of like how it pulled the trigger on certain subjects, especially the Darksaber. And we can like go into that in like more depth, because I feel like there's a cultural unawareness about how you treat cultural items, right? And I feel that that's the weakness that Mandalorian has consistently been having, especially since season 2. It's just having one white man write the whole of the show. So
is that the sketchy part? I want to get into that. What would you think was the sketchiness of it?
I mean, I think there's sketchiness with the cult, don't get me wrong, because cults are no bueno, right? But for me, the Darksaber was particularly troubling because it's flippant the way that they destroyed it. And I'm not saying that I'm against destroying the Darksaber, because I do feel like the Darksaber kind of needed to have a culmination in terms of its arc, right? Because even though it's an inanimate object, it still has a story, and it still has a journey that it's going through, that we've been seeing through Clone Wars, then Rebels, then transcends into live action. And there's a myth and a history and a culture behind it. It's not just a sword, right? It has meaning, it has history, has culture. And the fact that it has culture means that it needs to be treated with a sort of reverence in terms of the culture that it's servicing. And to have it just be destroyed the way that it was, where it's just like, it's just Gideon just kind of crushes it and then it's thrown away and we never acknowledge it again. It's so anticlimactic that it almost feels kind of disrespectful. It's just like if I was at my when I was talking with Danny on my podcast, I was comparing it with Lord of the Rings, because I saw some people make a comparison of like, well, it's just like the One Ring, you have to destroy it. And I'm like, no, it's not like the One Ring, because the One Ring was forged out of malice and evil by Sauron in the fires of Mount Doom, right? If we're gonna find like an analogous treatment for the Darksaber, it's really oh my God, what's the name of Aragorn's sword? I forgot about it. Anduril, Flame of the West, forged from the shards of Narsil. That's what the nearest analogous object for the Darksaber is, or Excalibur, right? It's like this mythic weapon of the hero, because it was done by Pre Vizsla, the first Mandalorian Jedi, to bring the people together. Did the meaning of it change through millennia and centuries? Sure, but at the end of the day, it's like an object that has like implicit meaning to the Mandalorians, that if it was going to be destroyed, it needed to be an active, at least in my mind, an active action by Mandalorians together to like make sure that like, okay, we're doing this because this is destroying us, so like we must destroy it together. And like them acknowledging the symbolism and meaning of what that action means, because it's just like, I feel like it's just like, oh, the Constitution of the United States is troubling, let's just burn it, and we never acknowledge it. I feel like everyone would be up in arms if someone did something of that magnitude. And I feel like that's where having someone like Favreau write the show fails, because he's not like aware of like what culture means to people that have culture. And not to say that like white Americans don't have culture, but it's such a young culture that like that mythic, traditional, epic background that objects and moments can have, it's just not there. And I feel like that's why like a more diverse roundtable writers group can really help improve moments like that, because, and maybe I'm reading too much right into the Darksaber, but for me it's just like, yeah, it's just something that you have to acknowledge. Because even Last Jedi, right, Luke throws the lightsaber out in a flippant way, but Rey picks it up. It's like, no, there's legacy here, and we have to acknowledge that legacy. And what happens? The lightsaber is destroyed, but it's not destroyed flippantly. It's because of this power struggle between light and evil. And then what happens? Yeah, we have the pieces there. And what does Leia say? We have everything we need to just rebuild that legacy. So even with the destruction of Luke's and Anakin's lightsaber in Last Jedi, we treat it with reverence. It's like we're destroying it, but it's like, no, but there's hope within that object still. And the Darksaber is just like, nah, never mind. And I feel like that's the problem with this finale. A lot of the decisions feel like, never mind.
Yeah. I mean, I tried, man. I really tried this season. This whole season, I'm going to actually disagree with you a little bit, because I actually did feel like this whole season was a step down. The first 2 episodes I got to see early, and I got the screeners for that, and I really enjoyed it. And I thought it was leading towards something special and towards something significant within the Mandalorian people and within the Mandalorian culture. Here's my thing. The first episode of the season is called The Apostate. For anyone who has a religious background at all, that's a triggering word. Yeah, it's extremely triggering. It triggered me, to be honest, to the point that it's like, if you have any kind of religious trauma in your background, which I slightly do, I don't like what the season did with the cult, because that's what I'm calling it. It's a cult. Yes. Just remaining on top and just being, I'm just so confused why everyone seems to be okay with this, where to me it's like, it's so clearly a code, and it's so clearly defined in season 2 as being a hindrance in the way of Din Djarin taking on the responsibility of actually being a father to Grogu, to the point where what is more important, unmasking yourself and denying your cultish
Mhm,
background
mhm.
and this repression that you have within yourself, or unmasking yourself and relating on an emotional,
Yes.
physical level that is important to connect and bond with your actual adopted child. And he
Mhm, mhm.
realized that's more important. This child is more important. Having a connection to this child is more important to me than having this creed and this background. And then this entire season undoes that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
by a mile, to the point that I was ready, and I even tweeted out, the armor. I thought the armor was a villain. I still think she's a villain, because
Yeah,
to me, it's like,
so do I. Yep, I
I
agree.
don't understand how we can glorify, even like in episodes 4 and 5, we're doing missionary work. I was like, are we for real here? Are we really going planet to planet doing missionary work for a cult? Like, am I tripping right here? Because
Yep.
I don't understand how anyone can't see this, how the idea of piousness and of using the word apostate and of creating a culture of holier than thou and of repression of your own desires and of
Yes.
own natural human ideas and
Mhm.
human interactions is suddenly really cool and just
Yeah,
really
right,
awesome.
right,
And I'm just
right.
like,
Just because they have a nice catchphrase.
and it's used in the most terrible ways, where it's like, this is, I mean, I think it was Alex who brought this up last week, from Star Wars Explained. Shout out to Alex.
Mhm. Shout out.
It
Yeah.
might have been him last week, where he said this is the way has been used to talk about, like, oh, you can't eat in a group, this is the way, or you can't, you can't take off your mask, this is the way. And it's like the silliest, dumbest things for this is the way, and we're supposed to relate to this catchphrase in a manner in which relates to us on an emotional level, but at the same time we relate to it in a manner of
Mhm.
repression and in a manner of religious law.
Right.
It just feels to me like it doesn't work at all, to me personally, and there's no personal identity within Din, where he realizes what it is within himself to realize his own culture, and where he can define his own culture the way Sabine did in Rebels. I
Mhm,
I
mhm, mhm.
I did not like this season at
No,
all. I thought the last
I
episode was
agree. I
great,
agree
but
with
that was
everything you
it.
said. No, and I agree with everything you said, honestly, because I felt the exact same way about that, because I don't know how people have been so forgiving about the whole apostate thing, because like you said, it's about religious drama, it's about religious extremism, because this is not about like well, I'm a Catholic and you're Protestant, and we can find some common ground and get along together and hold hands and blah blah blah. No, this is about like a group of people that, like, an apostate's not that's not a trivial word. An
Mm-mm.
apostate is someone that is like, you are removed from your group,
You're
and not
considered a
only are you
traitor. Yeah.
removed, exactly, not only are you removed, you're a traitor and you are not welcome. Like, you cannot have contact with them. They cannot contact you either. It's for people that like have gone through religious trauma and who have actually been apostates, because that's not a word for shows. That's something that happens in the United States right now, where people don't see their families for decades after being like excommunicated or just wanting to live their lives their way. It's something that's baffling to me, that it's treated in such a forgiving way. So it's like, well, but we're all just people at the end of the day. It's like, no, I mean, sure, we are all people, but there's a difference between like how we interact with each other. And it was weird, especially when you contrast the end of season 2 with what you were saying, with Mando
Yes.
actually taking off his helmet willingly so that he can have that one-to-one connection with his son, with Din Grogu. But then compare with what happened here, is we kind of doubled down on the baptism, which I kind of found like, why does Ragnar need to get baptized again? He already got baptized one. Although I guess his baptism was interrupted, so maybe that's why they did it again. But still, it's just like, okay, so now we have Mando triple down, actually, on the cult, even though the armorer already said that you can walk the two paths because of Bo and her tribe of Mandalorians. But now he also, not only that, but he wants to indoctrinate Grogu into that system.
Yeah. I think
That
that's the
kind of
thing that gets me. It's where everyone can be like, oh, you have a choice. It's a choice. And it's like, do they have a choice? If
children,
you're
children,
indoctrinated and brainwashed,
children
does
don't
the kid have a choice?
children don't have a choice, man. It's just like, that's why, like, baptism like, and to get out of Mandalorian and just talk about the real world, baptism is a fucked up concept in religion, to because it is indoctrination. It's like, let's take choice away from people that cannot make that choice, or even if they're really young, not have the emotional or intellectual capacity to like understand what's going on and make a decision for themselves. It's like, for the most part, you don't make a child or a baby decide what they want to do with the rest of their life. You don't make them choose a career then, or a university, or a political affiliation. But somehow with religion, it's okay to like force them into that, even though they don't have the capacity to choose or consent into what they're doing, until all of a sudden kind of like have Mandalorian show Din do that and kind of show it as a good thing. I found like it was a decision. I'm not sure it's the best one.
I think it's jarring. To me, I feel like if it's somehow related to, I don't know, somehow he has a connection to the watch, but he can still have his own identity and his own definition of what it is to be a Mandalorian, because I think that was the big thing in season 2, is that he just refused to believe that anyone who took off their mask was a Mandalorian. And if he realized within himself that that's something he wanted to do, or if another Mandalorian within the Children of the Watch did that, I would feel less, critical. But to me, it's such a jarring decision to make that statement, which is such a heavy statement, where this is cool. And I'm like, I don't know if it is cool. I don't know if it is cool to just team up with cults if they're nice to you. Like, it's,
but I mean, all the cults are nice. That's how they get you.
Yeah, exactly. Where I'm like,
no cult has gotten followers because they're jerks. Cults get you because of their niceness.
Besides that to me is the overarching issue I had with this season. It wasn't Jack Black and Lizzo. It wasn't the cameos. It wasn't the crazy comedy. It wasn't the false expectations that a lot of people had for season 3 finale, where I feel like we need to endorse. And I'm like, I think most people who actually know me know that I love all Star Wars, legit, all Star Wars on a different level. I really do appreciate it. But this is a moment where I do feel like some criticism is needed, especially with little moments like this, where you're kind of yada-yadaing actual traumatic events that people might have had, and actual real life situations that relate to the real world in a manner of which it's kind of dangerous. And also kind of saying, hey, this isn't that great, and it's not that great written because it's not critical enough of certain issues that come up, and not being told on Twitter that you just don't like comedy, Star Wars is, and I'm like, I didn't say anything about comedy.
Yeah, we're not talking about that. It's like,
or
that's a logical fallacy. That's called shifting the goalpost. Like, people don't like that argument, so they like have to talk about this other thing you didn't say.
And I tried to put this in a video like a couple of weeks ago, and people were all like, you don't get Star Wars, it's all comedy. And I'm like, I never mentioned comedy. To me, I think people are pinpointing little thing, kind of like Obi-Wan, where people were like nitpicking dumb things that didn't bother me at all, instead of talking about the overarching themes, which to me in this season kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Besides that, I felt like the finale was lackluster, kind of poorly written, poorly edited a little bit, to be honest, especially after last week, because I thought last week was like, I was like, this is cool, this is exciting, it's well done, it's well directed. Whereas this week I felt like, man, this is kind of not great. But yeah, that's just me. To me, it's one big circular motion they did with season 3, where it's Gideon's back, Gideon has to defeat, now we're coming back to Mandalore. Like, it's just one big circle where we didn't move at all within this character of Din, at least within the identity that he discovered within himself in season 2. But yeah, I have to say what it is.
He was kind of like a passenger in his own story, which isn't necessarily bad, because I would argue that Cassian was also a passenger in Andor. Like, I feel like Cassian wasn't the one that was like leading the action of the show. He was kind of a reactive character, and I think in that show it worked perfectly. And I love Andor. Andor's like a 9 out of 10 for me. But yeah, season 3, like, Mando wasn't the main character, and that's fine. That's not my concern.
It wasn't just mine either, to be honest.
It's just that, it was really the finale. It's like, oh, so we're not gonna explore anything. And I don't like people are saying necessarily that, like, oh well, look at it that way, look at this other way, or maybe they weren't trying to say this or trying to say that. And it's like, but they were, because if it's there, it means that there's some subtext, and some subtext isn't even subtext, it's text. I mean, you use the word apostate, like you're baptizing people. That's not subtext, that is text. It's right there. So don't tell me that I'm looking too much into what those things mean when like it's literally written out. So
and in season 2 it's written out too, the fact that Din is unable to accept other people as a Mandalorian. I mean, that's literally religious judgment and just picking and choosing what you define as your own faith, which to me again is very relatable in the real world, where a lot of people will stand up on a pedestal and judge and scream and talk about how you're disgusting in the face of my religion, and you're not a part of my religion, no matter what you say, no matter what you do, even if you take on a different identity or a different self-expression, whatever it is. And I thought there was going to be some sort of message about that, as far as being able to do both, which I think a lot of people can relate to. I think about the Young Justice episode. I don't know if you watch Young Justice. It did a really good job talking about faith and talking about how you can take on certain identities, and your faith can still be a big part of you, but you don't have to use that faith to torment other people or to judge other people.
Right.
And this show was just like, yeah, I mean, sometimes you can. I'm like, what?
I mean, I think
know.
it would have been I think two things might have like helped soften the blow with like all the cult conversation about it. It's like, one, when the armor was talking about joining with Bo and like walking the two paths and stuff like that, half people from the Children of the Watch, a couple of them being like, okay, let's take off our helmets, and the armor being like, that's fine, like, because now we can kind of coexist.
That moment was definitely negative too, because it's like, why can she? The whole idea of being able to walk two paths, but it's only this person that I nominate, that I select.
It still has to be binary. So you can only walk two paths, but if you're here, you have to walk this one. If you're there, you have to walk that one. And be like, why can't it just be, we can, like, paths aren't always linear, right? Sometimes paths wind. So like, why not like at that moment be like, oh, if you want to take out your goddamn helmet and have lunch or dinner, you can do it. And that, I think that would have helped soften the blow. And then the other thing is, like, I think it would have been really cool, like in that final scene when they're at the hut, the cowboy hut, like out, in Navarro. If like when Din's kicking his feet up with Grogu, he takes off his helmet with Grogu.
I would have loved that. Yeah, I think that would that would have been enough for me.
and done. And it's like, oh, okay, well, you're choosing your path now.
Yes.
But maybe Pedro didn't want to be on set, and that's why they were like.
But to me, that's still bad writing, because if you're unable to, you have a logistical problem, right? As a producer myself, I think of logistical issue combining to or turning into a writing issue, or turning into a production issue, where you don't have the actor present, so you write your way around this kind of mindset where you realize, wait a minute, you're kind of undoing your own storytelling that you did in previous seasons, where you kind of talked about or kind of hinted at the negativity of the armor, or at the ideas of this is the way it's supposed to be, not being necessarily the most positive outcome. So you kind of hint that that's not the way to go, and that the armor is kind of tripping. And then you start to be like, well, actually, she's dope and she's cool. And you kind of write your way around it just because you couldn't get Pedro on set. To me, that's still poor writing. That's still poor planning. That's still poor identifying what the arc of it and what the journey of this character and what this show is. So.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if it was a symptom of the season itself or a symptom of Favreau and Filoni just like juggling the rest of the Mandoverse.
It could be, but I'm still excited, to be honest.
100%.
And I love this character. I love this character. I really do, and I will still support what comes next. Kind of going off that, let's go to full Sabacc.
Full Sabacc.
Our full Sabacc for this week is all about the Star Wars Celebration announcements.
Oh yeah.
Let's start right off.
Which one? I mean, there's so much.
The big one, which leads to this, which is the Filoni movie, which we heard is supposed to be like this Avengers style merging of the shows coming into one movie. So how are you feeling about that? And how do you feel like that movie can do the impossible and kind of combine these shows and make it exciting for all fans of these shows?
It might be controversial, but that's the one I'm least excited
No
for.
way. It was when I first heard it. I can't lie. But the more I thought about it, the more I was like, these shows have always been kind of fun anyway.
but
So
it's
it'd be kind of fun.
no. I'll be the first in line and watch
Sure.
it too. And I would. And I even a bad Star Wars movie is a good Star Wars movie. You know, I like to take a dump on Rise of Skywalker all the time, but at the end of the day, if it's on, I'll watch it. It's enjoyable. Like I'll find the good in it, right? Like I'm not gonna like be cynical and not enjoy the franchise that I love, right? I'll do constructive criticism, right? Like we've been doing today, but but I gotta keep it 100 too. But the problem with I compare it with like the Defenders on Netflix, and that team up of all those shows happened, and it was kind of like it's like, oh, okay, well that happened. That was a team up, I guess, and I just envisioned that as a movie. It's like imagine the Defenders as a feature film. It would have been like, oh, okay, well, that happened. So the thing is, I'm not saying it's going to be bad. Obviously, we have zero information about it, so I'm sure that they'll do a good job. I'm just like not sure like exactly how this team up will happen. Will it kind of be like in a Ahsoka centric movie where like all the other characters are kind of like supporting characters in some capacity, or are they all going to be protagonists? Is it Din, Ahsoka, Grogu, the little kids from Skeleton Crew? Like I don't think we have enough information really to be able to like have a full judgment. I'm using the we as the royal we, but I'm not that excited about that one. To be frank, it's because it's probably because I don't have enough information to be excited. But once we get more, I'm sure I'll get on the train. I'll get on the hype train. I'm always on the hype train. So
yeah, let's talk about the other ones. I know there was quite a few. So we have obviously Skeleton Crew. We have the Acolyte. We have the Dawn of the Jedi, which is James Mangold's Star Wars movie. We have the New Jedi Order with the Return of Rey. I mentioned the Filoni movie, and then there's one more that I'm missing. Ahsoka. We have Ahsoka coming up in August, right?
And Andor season 2. Yeah.
Andor season 2, yeah, which we already knew. I feel like the ones we already knew were Visions, Andor season 2, and then Bad Batch season 3, which was confirmed. I'm kind of putting those to the side just because I feel like we know about them. Yeah. We know them. But the ones we haven't seen, which one are you the most excited about?
For the shows, I've always been saying Acolyte, and honestly, the trailer for Acolyte that they showed was stunning. It was like such I can't even like begin to describe like how awesome that trailer was, because it had like wuxia elements, from like Asian wuxia. Oh, so in Carrie-Anne Moss is looking crazy. There's this final shot on that trailer where it's just like all the Jedi just like facing the camera, and I remember when it was happening, I'm like, are they gonna do the thing? And all of a sudden they did the thing. It's like all the Jedi just like start lighting up their lightsabers, and I'm like, I am in 100% invested. I mean, obviously is Hetland leading the show. It's with the High Republic, and I mean, you can see all my books here, so I'm really a fan of the High Republic. Extremely diverse cast, and it looks fresh and original, So I'm just like, that's I want more Star Wars that I haven't seen, and Acolyte seems to be the one that's going to deliver that. That being said, when we saw the Ahsoka trailer, I was just like, God damn it, like, too good. Especially when Ahsoka says things, she's like, oh, Thrawn as the heir to the Empire, and I'm like, oh, she said it. It's like, and then we see Thrawn from the back, and pitch perfect. Like, it's just like that trailer just looked like everything that I would have wanted like a Rebels sequel show in live action to be. So I'm really excited for both of them. Like, my hype level for Acolyte was like through the roof, but honestly, the trailer for Ahsoka kind of put them almost on even footing. So that's for the shows.
Can I ask you to rank them? All of them. I kind of want to hear your ranking for shows and the ones I named, which was the Acolyte, Skeleton Crew, New Jedi Order, Dawn of the Jedi, Ahsoka, and what was the other one that I named? Filoni movie. So the 6.
I'm gonna separate them, movies and shows, because like they're just
okay. So
different.
3 and 3 shows, 3 movies.
3 and 3. I'm gonna put Acolyte and Ahsoka tied. Because the trailers were just that good. Not to say that I didn't like the Skeleton Crew trailer, because I actually liked it a lot more than I thought I was gonna like it. Because I mean, we knew nothing about Skeleton Crew, right? And they were like, it's gonna be Amblin-esque, and then Stranger Things in space. And I'm like, what does that even mean for Star Wars? But I saw a trailer. I'm like, okay, I get it. I'm always gonna watch it anyway. But now I'm on board. But I'm not as excited for that one. I mean, obviously, I'll still watch it. We'll do our reviews over at Triad. But that's the bottom there. For the films, though, Ray's my top. She's my top, man. When Daisy Ridley came out, I was over the moon. It was like the most exciting thing ever. And the thing is, like, I was down at Celebration with like Nikki and Alden, and we were discussing before going into the panel what we can expect. And all of a sudden, Nikki Kumar from Imperial Senate Podcast, he says, "Oh, I follow I follow Daisy's hairstylist on Instagram, and he had a story saying like, oh, really excited for Star Wars Celebration tomorrow. So she's gonna be there." I'm like, dude, that's a stretch. Like, what does I mean, it's his hair. I mean, we can't. That's not a source. And all of a sudden, when she walks in, I'm like, okay, dude, you were right. So that's the one I'm most excited for, especially because I always forget the director's name, but like she is such an badass. Like Oscars, like she's incredible person to be able to develop this film, and just the fact that it's also 15 years post Rise of Skywalker kind of gives me hope that in terms of like the film design or production design of ships and places and context, that it'll be kind of what I hoped that the sequel trilogy would be, because I feel the sequel trilogy looked too much like the original trilogy. So hopefully like this Rey movie is gonna like kind of address that and make it feel, like we're in the future, because that's what I've been wanting to see from Star Wars, future and the past. And all of a sudden when we were at the convention, it's just like, you're going to get the future and you're going to get the past. And I'm like, holy shit. So very excited for Rey. And then number 2 is Mangold with the Prime Jedi. Super excited for that, even though I don't know what that means, because it's, what did they say, 2,000 years in the past, or I don't remember what the timeline was, but it was far enough in the past, and I'm just like, what does that even look like? So very excited. I want unknown, right? That's why I think the High Republic is really fun, because like we don't know anything, but it's still familiar-esque. So I'm looking forward to seeing things that we have no clue about.
Yeah, no, it's all very exciting, and obviously seeing all that happen must have been amazing. I kept up with it. I actually stayed up and watched. I wasn't going to, but I was like, you know what? Why not?
The showcase was incredible. Yeah,
I bet, man. And I was following Alex's tweets, just like that's how I watched it. I literally just watched tweets and just refresh my feed every time to see what everyone was saying. And then obviously hearing Rey's announcement freaked me out. I love Rey. I did a panel about Rey last year, all about how much Rey is an amazing character. So I was so hyped. I'm so excited to see more of her story. I've talked a lot about how I wanted to see her come back in some capacity for a variety of reasons, but I definitely am excited to see what this director does with that. So that's number 1 above all of them.
That's number 1. Yeah, number 1. Yeah.
And for me, I would go after that. I would go Ahsoka is probably my top show, because Rebels is still to me the best show Star Wars has ever made. With the most connectable, relatable characters that we've ever seen. So seeing them in live action to me would just make me so emotional. So those are definitely my top 2. But Gustavo, before we take off, I want to do a quick squad up with Squad Leader Ace, all about choosing certain characters within the Star Wars universe to fit inside a very specific scenario. In this case, it's a very specific scenario in our real world, something that we're used to right now. If you don't know, the very famous festival, Coachella, is going on. So I decided, why not Gustavo make his own version of Coachella and do a Star Wars music festival. So in order to do this, Gustavo, in order to make your Star Wars Music Festival, you need certain characters and certain things, such as the very first thing you need to do is pick a location. So a planet that is perfect for this music festival. Second thing you need is an opening act that will get the crowd prepped and ready, a food service set up by a Star Wars character, a head of security, a producer overseeing everything and making sure everyone is safe. So basically the mom of the group.
Yeah.
And finally, a headliner that will make the festival worth it. Gustavo, let's start off with your location. Where are you sitting? Yeah.
Scarif.
Scarif.
Yeah.
On the beaches of Scarif.
On the beaches of Scarif.
Is it in the Lego movie? In the Lego Star Wars movie?
It's in the Lego Star Wars movie, but and actually most of the things I'm going to answer come from the the Lego Summer Special, because I think that was a banger. And I'm from an island, so I've been to music festivals on the beach, and I'm like, yeah, that's it. Scarif.
What
obviously before Death Star.
Yeah, or after. I mean, it could be 20, 30 years after.
Hopefully they recovered. Yeah.
By then it's already.
It was only a single reactor, so hopefully they're fine.
Secondly, what is your opening act? And it doesn't have to be a Star Wars musician. I forgot to say that.
Oh no, but we'll do Star Wars musician. It's gonna be Sice. It's gonna be Sice Noodles. She's gonna open. She's gonna open. She's gonna open the festival.
An oldie but a goodie. Bringing back good vibes. Everyone's gonna be like, I've heard this song before, even though it's not my generation, but I've heard it, so I feel it.
And she's a performer. I think she's gonna get the crowd hype.
Who is providing the food service?
My man Dex.
Yeah,
Dexter Jester.
That's the only choice.
It's the only choice because you're gonna be fed well.
Yes, that's the perfect choice. Who is your head of security?
Head of security, man, it would have to be Chewbacca. I think that he would be fair but kind. It's just like he's gonna enforce the law, but he's also gonna be lenient. I feel like he's not gonna be one of those bad bouncers. He's gonna do right by the people.
Who is in charge of safety? Who's the producer, making sure everyone's safe, having fun, enough water?
The thing is, originally when you said producer, I was thinking like Papa Palpatine, because he's got plans on top of plans. He's gonna be able to manage everything. But now you mentioned safety.
Yeah.
That's not Palps. That's not how Palps rolls. So I would have to go with Padme. I think she would be able to organize stuff and be able to keep people safe. That's her. I think I'm gonna go with her.
Finally, who is your headlining act, Gustavo?
Obi-Wan Kenobi, man.
That's a good one. That's also from Lego Star Wars, right?
Yes. He had the best song in the special. Come on.
That's
Obi-Wan Kenobi. One. Final answer.
That's epic, man, for sure. Let me quickly do mine. Just, obviously I'll have to do these off the top of my head. For my location, I am picking Naboo.
Oh, that's a good one.
Good
weather.
Partying up in Naboo. It's like a European city. You know what it is?
Yeah.
So definitely picking Naboo for that. My opening act, I want to go with, what's his name? Lulak. Is it Lulak from Solo: A Star Wars Story?
Oh, yeah, the floating head in the jar.
Yeah, I'm going with him. I think he's a beast. I think he can.
That would be good. I also thought the Ewoks would be good, just some jub nub. But maybe earlier in the day or something.
That's a good one too. And then what is my my other one? I think it was food service. Oh, food service. Oh man, who could be a good Star Wars cook? Man, who else cooks in Star Wars besides my homie Dexter Jexter?
I forgot her name from the holiday special with the 4 arms. What's her name?
Ooh, I forgot her name too.
It's a holiday special.
I'm just gonna pretend someone's a good cook. I'm saying Rex is an amazing cook. Let's just say he can cook.
I can see that. He can take care of his brothers.
So you never know. Maybe he's got the barbecue joint going. My head of security is easy. I'm picking Captain Panaka.
That's a good one. I
feel like he's just down the line. He's like, stop this, stop it, keep going.
He did go Imperial, so he might get a little too.
He did.
He might get a little.
Phantom Menace.
Sorry.
Okay. And then my overseer of everything, my producer, you went with Padme. I was thinking of Padme, but I'm going with Hera. I think Hera is perfect.
She'll be good.
She is the one who's always going to be there for everyone. And then finally, my headliner, I'm picking freaking, what's that band called? Shock Kava? Is it Chav Kava?
Oh, from
The
Force Awakens?
Yeah.
with Lin-Manuel.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
Boricua.
that's a good one. That's a good one.
That is it's gonna be Jamaican style inside of Naboo. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be amazing.
It's good.
So.
It's good. I like that. I think we could have the two stages, like the two main stages, like going on at the same time. I like it.
Get the live stream going with a hologram.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. That was a good one.
Gustavo, thank you so much for coming on the show, man.
No, thank you for inviting me. I had a wonderful time.
Where can everyone find you, man?
Oh, you can find me at Triad of the Force, where a podcast can be found. We're on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Google, all the pod chasers. You can find Triad of the Force there. We're also on video format on YouTube. You'll search Triad of the Force and you will find us. You want to see like all the random ramblings that I have on social media. I'm mostly on Twitter at Triad of the Force. Also on Instagram, if you want to see me post like old rock and roll songs and weird stories, at Triad of the Force on Instagram. We're also on Hive, even though Hive isn't active anymore. But we're on Facebook, but we don't really post there. So yeah, just search for us there. If you want to buy some merch and support the channel, we have a TeePublic store. We have a bunch of cool designs. If you don't like any of the Triad ones, we have non-Triad designs there, but they'll still support the channel and they'll be cool. So if you want to check those out, please feel free. But yeah, you can find us almost anywhere. And at conventions some of the time. Hopefully in Japan 2025.
Hopefully, fingers crossed. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Squad Leader Ace and on TikTok now at Squad Leader Ace. You can also find us at First Cut TMO on social media, Twitter and Instagram and TikTok as well. And make sure you guys subscribe right here to First Cut for more Sabacc the Block. But either way, guys, for the Sabacc the Block crew, we're going to be peacing out. So peace.